Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to read you story number 337, the second story for this week. So yesterday we read the one about Jesus asking Peter, "Do you love me?" That was the one we read yesterday. Today we're going to read a story called Home to Heaven. So for moms and dads, this is number 337. Okay, here we go. Make sure my microphone is in the right place. Are you ready? For a month or more after he had risen, Jesus appeared to his friends at many different times. Jesus showed himself only to his followers, although there were more than 500 of them together on one occasion. There could be no doubt that Jesus was alive. He was most certainly alive. His friends could touch him, and he even had a meal with them. He was back to life. His body had died, and God brought him back to life, his real live body. But his body was different now. He could pass through closed doors and appear and disappear when he wanted to. During those weeks, Jesus helped his disciples to understand many things that they had not been able to understand before he died. He showed how the Old Testament scriptures, now if you're in a kindergarten enrichment classroom, that would be the part that went all the way from the rocking chair all the way around. Remember? And then the New Testament was the one where Jesus was born. That was over by where the front door was. Okay, so the Old Testament was all the stories that we had studied. How the Old Testament, so stop for a minute and think to yourself, what's a story that you know of in the Bible that's in the Old Testament? Can I hear you say it? Give me one story that you know is in the Old Testament. Okay, that's good. Now give me another one. Old Testament. Okay, so the two that I thought of, one that I thought of was Noah. Noah and the ark is in the Old Testament. Another story that's in the Old Testament is the story of Samson. Those are both in the Old Testament. Okay, here we go. How the Old Testament scriptures had pointed to a Messiah. Do you remember that word, Messiah? It means the same as Christ. It's his job. It's the one who is going to what? What was it? What did it mean? He was going to save, right? He was going to save them. He was the savior who would, let me back up. It showed how the Old Testament scriptures pointed to a Messiah, a savior, who would suffer and die for his people and then rise again. Now, the religious leaders had studied the scriptures too, but they picked out those verses that described a Messiah that everyone would crown as the king, that he would come back and he would only be a king. Now, is Jesus a king? He is a king, but he also suffered and died for us. One day, Jesus was talking to his disciples, his followers, on the slopes of a mountain that grew olives on it. They call it the mountain of olive trees. And all of the people who were following said to him, "Has the day finally come now for you to get your crown and be the king? We're waiting for you to take over. Come on, Jesus, let's go." And Jesus said to them, "God will decide when that day shall be." Jesus told them, "I have work for you to do now. I am going back to my Father, and you won't see me." I wonder what they thought when they heard that. "I am going back to my Father," Jesus said, "and you won't see me. But your job is to be my witness." My witness. What do you think it means to be a witness? If you witness something, it means that you saw it, right? And you know about it, and you're going to tell about it. So you saw it, and you know about it, and you're going to tell about it. So Jesus says, I want you to do that. I want you to do that here in Jerusalem where they were. And then I want you to do that in the whole world. Teach other people to follow me and baptize them. I will be with you through the Holy Spirit. Wait here in the town of Jerusalem for me to come to you, for him to come to you, for the Holy Spirit to come to you. Jesus held up his hands. Has your pastor ever done this? To hold up his hands and to bless them. And in that moment, he was taken away from them. They watched him go up until a shining cloud hid him from their view. For a while, they just went on staring to where he had gone. I think I would have too. Suddenly, they realized that two men in bright white were standing next to them. These are the disciples. Now there were these two men in bright white. Who do you think those people were? Who do you think those were? And they said, "Why are you looking up at the sky?" That's an interesting question. Why are you looking up at well, why were they looking up at the sky? Why were they looking up at the sky? Because Jesus had just gone up there, right? And they were like, he went up, right? And the answer is, these two bright white ones who are talking said, one day Jesus will come back in just the same way that you saw him go. Can I read that again just because it's one of my favorite parts? One day Jesus will come back in just the same way that you saw him go. Oh, that's so exciting. The disciples made their way back to Jerusalem and did as Jesus told them. Remember, he said to be the witness, which is to tell about what you know. They waited together for his Holy Spirit to come to them. All right, boys and girls, that was the end of the story, and I will be back to read you the next one for the next day. Okay, remember to thank God out loud every day. Bye-bye.